Hello again and welcome back to our course Action Game Coding Essentials. Now in this lesson we are going to add health to the cat sprite and I think we'll call it HP for health points. That's a standard thing in gameplay. And the first thing we need to do is to select the cat underneath the stage. Make sure that's selected. We're going to scroll down through the code we've already created. It doesn't matter where we put this code, but we're just going to move down to the bottom here. And the first thing we need to do is we need to create a variable. Now, we're going to click on variables here. And then up at the top, we will have make a variable. Now, Scratch has a preset variable here, and in fact, we don't really need this. So you can right click on it and just delete it. We're going to make a new variable, and our variable is going to be called cat HP for health points, cat health points. We're going to do this for all sprites. This means that this variable can be used in any code throughout the game on any sprite, and that might be necessary, as we'll find out later. We're going to click OK, and the variable is created. There are some code blocks that are created for that variable we'll come back to in a moment. And up here it appears on our stage. Now we can move this about and put it wherever we like. We can also change it to what's called a large readout. We can change it to a slider that allows us to change the value in the variable, but we're going to stay on normal readout. Now for those of you that don't know, I'm going to explain what a variable is. A variable is like a little box in which you can have a value. Now that value can be a number, or it can be a word or some letters. And the idea is that those numbers or those letters can change. So you could think of it like this. If you imagine you have a box called My Age, and inside that box is your age, a number that is your age. So inside your box you might have the number 8. Or the number 12. Now, next year, that number is going to go up by 1. You're going to be 9, or you're going to be 13. 2 years ago, well, you would have been 6, or you would have been 10. So a variable is like a box in which you can place a letter or a number and then change it and check to see what's inside it. Now, we're going to use a variable for our health points for our cat, and we're going to give our cat some health points, and then throughout the game, he, or she I should say, may lose these health points. So let's go straight over here to events, and we're going to add on another when I receive begin game. By the way, we're going to put this code onto the cat because it's the cat's health points, but this code can go anywhere you like on any sprite or on the stage, but it's best to keep variables that relate to a sprite, keep the code on that sprite. And we're simply going to go back to variables here, and we're going to choose set cat HP, and we're going to set our cat HP, well, let's set it to 9. Cats have 9 lives. So we've got 9 on here. Now, if you watch up here, I will press B, and guess what? 9. Okay. When I press E, it doesn't automatically change back to 0. It's going to retain that number in it. Now, we don't really want this variable display to appear on our instruction screen, and we can turn it on and off, which is fortunate. So what we're going to do down here is we're going to go back to events, and we're going to put on here a when I receive how to play, which you'll remember is how our instruction how to play instructions appear. Let's move this down a little way here. And we will put on here back to variables, and we will put on here hide variable cat HP, and let's put the show variable cat HP onto this one here, like so. So now when we press B, the variable disappears, and when we click to begin our game, the variable display appears. Okay, I'm going to pause to let you create your variable. Remember, you're going to click make a variable, and you're going to call it cat HP, or the name of your cat, HP. And we'll come back and continue the coding in a moment. Okay, so we've made our variable, we've set it to show when the game begins, and we've set its initial value at 9. Now we want these H points to change throughout the game. Now we're not sure exactly how the cat is going to lose its HP, but just for the time being, we're going to put a forever and an if inside here, and then we're going to put into the if touching edge. So if the cat touches the edge of the stage, and we will go back to our variables here, and we will take the change catch HP, like so, and we're going to change this to -1. So all we're saying here is if the cat touches the edge of the stage, it's going to lose an HP, a health point. Let's test this out. Press B, we'll go full screen here, and click. We will move our cat, and as soon as the cat, if you'll watch the variable display up here, as soon as the cat touches the edge of the stage, it starts to lose HP. Now you'll notice that it's losing HP at a terrific rate. And if I end the game here, I'll explain the reason for that is that it will lose HP at the frame rate of the game, which is huge, at least 30 frames per second. So it's going to lose too much HP. And the standard way in which we fix this is we go back to control and we add on a wait 1 second. So let's now restart our game. We'll move the cat up to the top, and you'll see that it only loses 1 life per second. So now we've slowed that down. That makes total sense, doesn't it? Okay, I'm going to show you something else here. If we keep the cat on the edge of the stage, you'll notice that the cat HP starts to go into minus numbers. Now obviously we don't want that to happen. So there's a couple of ways in which we can fix this. And one of the ways is we're going to take from the control code blocks. By the way, if I'm sometimes saying script blocks, that's because script and code blocks are really the same thing. This time I'm going to put in here, and I'm going to go to operators, and up here we have an equals operator, and I'm going to put in here back to variables. This little thing here is a code block, and I'm going to put if cat HP equals 0, then we are going to do a, well, let me see, don't we have a game over backdrop? We do have a game over backdrop. Here's our opportunity to use our backdrop. So we're going to, let's go back to the cat here, back to events, and we are going to broadcast game over. And if I remember correctly, once we receive game over, here we are, we switch to the backdrop game over and the game ends. Fantastic. Let's go back to the cat. Let's play the game. Press B, click to begin. I'm just going to push the cat onto the edge of the stage and let it lose its health points. And once we get to 0, we trigger the game over and the game ends. Now there's a really simple way to end your game once the HP points have all gone. Once again, let me pause here to let you finish this coding. Now there's one final bit of code I want to put in here which can solve a bug. Now it's quite possible that you may make a game in which the cat simultaneously loses 2 health points. It might lose a health point by touching the edge of the stage and also being shot by another sprite. So at the same time it loses 2 health points, and its health points go from 1 to -1 and miss out 0. That can happen in certain games. Now, if it does that, this broadcast won't be triggered. What we can put in here is if cat health points are less than 1, which would mean that 0 or -1 or -2 would trigger the broadcast game over. But it's better if we do this. We are going to temporarily remove the touching edge sensing code block from our if, and we'll put it down here. And then we're going to go over here to operators, and in operators we have one called AND. Let's bring that one out, and we're going to move touching edge into the first slot in the AND, like this. The next step, we're going to go back to our operators here, and we're going to take a greater than operator, and we're going to put that in the second slot in the AND, like so. And then we're going to go to variables, and up here, this is a code block, and we're going to take it and we're going to put it into our greater than operator. So we now have, whoops, let's move this up again. We now have if touching edge and catch HP is greater than 50. Well, of course, our HP is never greater than 50. This needs to be 0. If touching edge and catch HP is greater than 0, put it back into our if here, then change the cat's HP. Now this should function as a fail-safe, if you like, to stop the cat's HP ever going below 0. Now I'm going to pause once again and allow you to complete this code, and then we'll carry on with this lesson. So what we're really saying here is the cat cannot lose any health points if its HP is less than 0. Its HP has to be at least 1. Okay, now what we've done here with variables, although this is a short lesson, this is a quite complex thing to get your head around. So it would be good if you went back, did this a couple of times, just experimented a little bit with these operators. You can start with just the touching edge here, and then if you like, move on to being a bit more complex with this one here, and just get your head around using these kind of algorithms, using a variable in this way. So far all we're saying here is touching edge. Of course we need to create some kind of event for a game that's likely to be if the cat perhaps touches something, is hit by a bullet, whatever. And we will do that later on in this course. But for the time being, I'm going to save my game again. Now, having health points on the cat is a great idea for a template game as well. So I'm simply going to File, Save to your computer. We're still on this same template game. I think just for the sake of variation, because our template game is getting more complex, I'm going to make this into version 2. And then I'm going to save it. No need to replace now because this is a fresh file. And that is it for this video lesson. Hope you've enjoyed it. Go over it as many times as you like so you really understand what we've done here. And then we'll continue in the next video lesson and create some enemies to attack the cat.